So tell us the story that you had started telling us.
Oh yeah, I watched a bunch of random clips of like interviews with people, like actors, writers, comics, whatever.
You do watch a lot of interviews.
Yeah, I watch a lot of interviews.
I should study because some people are really talented at being interviewed.
They are. And a lot of people, it's just a good reminder for me, like people go through a lot of crazy shit to get the point where I know who they are on YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or in life or whatever. Like it seems overnight success takes 10 years type thing.
Yep.
Sometimes it takes 30. So it was this comedian Bill Burr, and he was talking to another like fucking Boston guy. And he was talking about, he was on the Howard Stern. It was like a little like 2-minute clip. And he's talking about how he was 12 years into doing his stand-up career. And he had just finished this gig that he had done for, it was like this one festival or, so I forget exactly what it was, but it was like the 5th year in a row he'd done it. And he was at the bar afterwards, like having a beer, and he was looking older. Everybody else, he was the same like wait staff and stuff from 5 years in a row. And everybody started looking a little older. He didn't have a manager yet. He had like no representation. He didn't have kind of anything to show for being 12 years into his passion. And he was just kind of sitting there, and like the panic hit him. It was like, is this what not making it looks like? Is this it? Nobody's going to come in and be like, you didn't make it. You just kind of like, and he was talking about like his job application. Is like, oh, you don't have a fucking 12-year gap being an accountant, like going off being there's not really a lot of options. And it's just this overwhelming panic that he had. And, now he's selling out fucking Madison Square Garden. But it just goes to show, like, he was doing it for 12 years straight at one point in his career, and kind of had like nothing to show.
No
for
progress. It felt like no progress.
What felt like no progress.
Yeah.
But he was saying how like there's two types of people in show business or Hollywood or whatever. Like the one type where they come off the bus, he said, with like the straw still between their teeth, like straight from the farm, you know what I mean? And they're just like, here you go, and they make it when they're 23.
Right.
And it just and then there's everybody else.
Right.
And they fucking grind and just, do the whole thing.
Yeah.
We are everybody else.
For sure.
We would not have a career probably.
We're not
if it
saying we
wasn't.
didn't make it.
Yeah,
right? And
right.
and in fact, Bill Burr also didn't not make it.
He made it.
He made it.
And
He made
that's
it.
the point of this.
Yeah.
Like it'll feel.
In fact, I think
The
everybody
stress.
eventually makes it. Everybody
Yeah.
eventually does make it, whether that's 100 pivots from now, 1,000 pivots, 1,000,000 pivots. You eventually do make it.
The deciding when and where to pivot, though, is always
It's tricky.
so tricky.
And the topic that we want to touch on all up on this topic.
Come on, rub up on
Today we're going to rub up on the topic of stress. Because stress is a motherfucker, as we like to say in this house.
We do.
We do. Stress is a motherfucker.
Stress is a motherfucker.
We say that a lot.
Oh, yeah, okay, maybe we do say that.
Yeah. So welcome back to House of Herby. This is your safe space for self-discovery and bad bitchery. I'm Queen Herby, your favorite host. And your second favorite host is sitting right next to me, Jedi Nick, who is never stressed.
Ever.
I feel
what's
like
that?
you are a lot less stressed than I am. So let's just take a little account of what's happening here. I am generally
Let's
more
just
stressed
monitor
than
our
all of us,
stress.
I would say. I think, Alex, maybe you internalize it. I don't
Big time.
see it
Yeah.
with
Yeah,
you.
you're not a visual stressor.
Yeah.
No, I really do keep it in.
Yeah.
Like a good guy. Like a good male.
Yep. And I think Gary and Luna have very different stress responses as well. Gary is a very outward, like, I'm stressed, shaking, shitting, puking. And
then-
Luna keeps it all inside. And then, like, we'll find blood in her stool. And we'll be like, okay, she must have been worked up about something. Right. Like, she's more like is that the masculine way in society? The men have to keep it down. Well, women aren't
Totally.
allowed to act stressed or
It's
angry.
weakness.
Okay.
It's weak showing any kind of like that it's getting to you or whatever, or any kind of
Oh, it's weakness.
it's weakness.
Which
yeah.
causes more stress then.
Totally. No, it is such a fucking tumbleweed. It's such a
It's a
waterfall.
tumbleweed?
It's what is the word?
It's such a timber wagon.
It's
Boy, this is a tumble
it's
height.
such a Hollywood. It's such a Halloween hayride.
What a perplexion.
What a pumpkin patch this sure
You're
is.
just make up words.
Just
and-
sitting there,
with a
nobody knows what
wrong-
it means. I don't even know what I'm trying to say
If
anymore.
you say it with confidence, it works.
yeah, if
Yeah.
you say it with confidence, it works.
Well, we have talked about in previous episodes ways to alleviate stress and to like laughter and crying and all these different ways. Meditation, like obviously those are a lot of our solutions. So going into this episode, know that it's okay, right? But what I recently discovered about stress is there is a science to it. And I see this like in my mom, for example. She experiences stress. I see it in some of your relatives, Nick, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's everybody responds differently to stress, and everybody has a different manifestation in their bodies, right? So some people might lose the ability to move their hands, or
Memory.
People they have temporary amnesia. Some people break out in hives. Some people have acne. Some people have a low grade depression all the time.
Yeah.
And what I remembered, I've known this for a while, but I remember someone told me that stress causes over 90% of all physical ailments and disease. Stress is either the cause or an underlying cause of all. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, and there's a really interesting, because I don't know how I got on this, but I did watch we can get into it as we go through it, but there was a TED Talk I watched a little while ago about stress. And it was it was crazy, because she was like, literally, stress is like, one of the biggest killers, when they believed that stress was the biggest killer.
Wow.
Yeah, it gets really
So we
deep.
don't even want.
Well, when they because it's all about there was a science behind it. Do you want to do your shit first, and we'll get into, because it's all your, I think, eventually at the end of it, it's your approach and the perspective that you have on it.
Yeah.
Because again, like if you think that stress is if you think that you're experiencing all this awful stress, which is going to make you unhealthy and then do all these awful things, then that's probably going to be your experience. And it's because stress can do a lot of, it's just a negative reaction to your body. Contracts your blood vessels,
Yep.
which increases your risk of all these heart diseases and all this shit, right?
Yep. But we're going to talk about, because we've heard all of this before. I feel like this is kind of a...
Right. These are things that it's kind of pretty like...
Yeah, it's like a broken record. It's like, yeah, but what do we do with this? And is there another perspective that we can take on it that's going to help us actually get past the shit? Or to actually just be aware. So that was kind of the first thing that Let's start like we always do with the definition from Webster's Dictionary.
Show me the definition
The
of
Webster's
stress.
Dictionary: stress is a state of worry or mental tension caused by a difficult situation.
Marriage.
Okay. Marriage. There it is. I think that makes a lot of sense. And wow, it really could just be a state of being, right? So I think for me, stress is like something that we ignore and avoid having awareness about.
Yeah.
So like it only turns into stress because you're ignoring it and pushing it down, or you refuse to like acknowledge that it's there. So then it just ends up in your body and you get all tight, and then you end up getting diseases. Your immune system suffers, everything. And we're about to jump into the science of it, because I feel like for me, it was more, I'm a skeptic too. So I'm like, oh, come on, get out of here with that woo-woo shit. I'm woo-woo as hell now, but like, you can't just tell me to stop stressing. That's not going to work.
No, that doesn't work. That only creates more
It's
stress.
bullshit. It's bullshit. And it really just like, well, stop stressing. And then we just kind of like continue to ignore it.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of people I know as well are like, I'm not really that you ask them like what their stress level is, and they're like, I'm not really that stressed. But it starts out as like irritable, angry, impatient, or like a wound up feeling. Like if you feel overburdened or overwhelmed in any way, that's a form of it. If you have anxiety, if you're nervous or afraid, like if you feel like your thoughts are racing and you can't slow down, that's a great solution too. Slow down. It's easier said than done. If you're unable to enjoy yourself, fuck. We're alive on earth in physical bodies and we can't enjoy ourselves.
Yeah.
Depression.
But they don't know that they're not enjoying themselves.
Right. Well, right. It's just being ignored. It's like you can't drop your whole life and then focus on healing yourself from stress.
Well, it's
society is like built for this shit, right?
Well, it is right. It's a self. What's the phrase?
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Thank you.
Yes. So you're uninterested in life. You feel like you've lost your sense of humor. I notice when I'm experiencing a lot of stress, I can't laugh about anything.
Oh yeah, everything's way too serious. For me, it was anger.
Anger comes up. I can see that.
I'm easily irritated.
Yes.
Easily irritated.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember I was like, why am I so fucking angry all the time?
So the feeling the emotion creates a feeling, and then you get the physical problems, right? Which start to become headaches, muscle tension, digestion issues. Hello,
Huge
me.
digestion ones, yeah.
Yep. Just general pain, heart stuff, heart disease, heart attack, high blood pressure, stroke, sleep problems, weight gain, memory and concentration impairment. There's that amnesia thing. So it's fascinating what this does. And I think what we're going to uncover in this episode today is like the simple science of how it works. Most of it is based on the Joe Dispenza book, Becoming Supernatural, which is one that I picked up recently. And then I also joined this platform called Gaia. Have y'all heard of this? Gaia. It's cute. It's like a little subscription monthly thing where they have like shit tons of content on metaphysical shit, which is my vibe. So he's got some series on there because I was like, Joe Dispenza, like teach us like everything you know, because he's a doctor and he like studied brain heart coherence and all this shit. So we know stress is the underlying cause of all disease, and we also know you can't be fully creative while under stress.
Totally.
Not fully. Some people can squeak out a couple of things. Okay, I notice I am not operating at my optimum levels of creativity when I'm stressed. So I've had to like come up with hacks for how to deal with this.
Yeah.
But this like superhuman stuff, the doctor research in it is kind of super helpful in my opinion.
Yeah. But also stress, like pretty much when it comes to creatives and like, you know, writing, performing, whatever the fuck you're doing too, like also know that we are just now getting to the place where we're not operating from a place of stress.
You and me.
You and me.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning,
it was the only way that we felt like we could be productive.
Yes. And it's a weird, fucked up relationship that you have with it. And that's kind of like what you're taught, like just do whatever you do whatever you got to like get it done.
Yeah.
And when you're doing that, it doesn't become sustainable because you are always pulling from that stressful place.
And eventually it's
And
a finite
taxing.
game and you run out
You run out
of willpower and you physically break down.
Or you become sick, or you're just burnt the fuck out. You know, just run down. So, but especially when we were doing the covers, and especially, and just now too, getting away from like, because when you're an artist today, having to do literally like 5 or 6 different jobs.
Yes.
That used to be 5 or 6 different jobs.
Yeah,
and
or
now
a
you
creative
gotta do-
person at all. Not even just
Creative
artists,
person
like
at all.
business people. Yeah.
You got to like creating content, doing all these things. Like it was really quite a challenge.
Quite
a challenge. Where is that guy from? To operate not from stress while still keeping like a certain energy level of enthusiasm.
Yes, and we're going to talk about this too. I found out why.
I know.
It's
think I did
brainwaves.
too.
Oh my God, I'm such a nerd.
It's what did you say?
It's brainwaves. Oh. Just wait. We're about to get into it. So if anybody out there that's listening has felt stress, which is fucking everyone, congratulations. This is your episode. We're gonna siphon it off and we're gonna put some space around it and we're gonna talk about it. It's gonna be cute. And after this, you're gonna feel so much more encouraged and you're going to feel like you can be aware of your own stress because now we're just talking about management.
After this, we're going to give you so much more stress.
Great.
Every 10 seconds, we're going to put a fucking bullhorn sound on this, and it's going to be great.
Just the ones with our mouths. Yeah, because it's frustrating. It's frustrating when you keep hearing like stress kills, and then people are like, your thoughts make up your reality. It's like, okay, easy for you to say, J-Lo.
Yeah, well, and you get one of those fucking
I was like triggered. This morning I saw a clip of J-Lo. Well, and she's wonderful and it was perfect. And I'm sure like oversimplified for the internet, right? But it was, she was just like, yeah, positive affirmation. No, actually she said something great. She's like, you have to force yourself to be positive because the world is crazy. But when you say like your thoughts make up your reality, like that's a simple concept, but it's not people don't naturally do this. Yeah. Like because of stress. Mm-hmm. I think our natural state is to think positively and feel safe and create.
And so much of this is in today's a big part of this that I've realized recently from having a pandemic to then coming out of a pandemic and how it was prior to the pandemic. Modern life is speeding up exponentially, and it creates a lot of stress.
This is the time, though, this time of great change and transition when we as a society determine what's acceptable moving forward.
Yeah, you have to, because if other people do it for you, then it's just so much. It's just sensory overload, and there's so much more information. We're getting information now in like probably all the shit that you consume now in a 48-hour period is what they used to do in like 6 months.
6 years.
6 years.
Yeah. So we got
6
to this.
lifetimes.
We sort of got to a flashpoint in society where it was like, oh my God, unbearable. And we're seeing it. We were just talking at lunch about how companies are just failing. People are laying off people, downsizing. Like shit is changing quick out here.
It's fast, dude. Fast.
So the way I'm talking about stress today is like what we know, what we've known the time that we've been alive, right? Most of us listening to this podcast are like at least in your 20s or 30s or 40s.
You're at least like 12.
I hope you're at least 12. I mean, if you're younger, that's pretty tight.
If you're younger, I'm sorry for saying fuck so much.
Yes, we apologize for everything actually. But society as we know it or as we knew it operated on turning on our primitive nervous systems.
Right.
So this like thing we talk about, we were running from a tiger in our past before we evolved to where we are now as humans. Like our nervous system it's like this whole, it looks like an alien when you rip it out of a human body. If you ever Google a picture of a nervous system, it's weird. Bunch of tendrils and things connecting all of our limbs to our brain and to our heart and spinal column. So it's like what gives you all your feels. And we would turn on our nervous system into this like hyper fight or flight state to run away from danger and threats. So modern
adrenaline.
Totally. So modern society has taught us that we need to be in a low grade version of this all the time. We're never You're supposed to go back to normal state after the tiger
Once you
threat
run away
is gone.
from the tiger, then you can chill for like a fucking
And
week.
literally your when it's in this stressed state, your body is pumping chemicals and hormones into you. Right. So you almost think about this like your body's this amazing miraculous factory that's pushing out all of these chemicals to tell you when you're in danger. And we just like decided to leave the switch on. And we don't give ourselves time to recover.
Right.
And so that's why you've got like nervous system problems and disorders too. So in that state, those chemicals are telling the body, this is what kind of helped me understand this better. There's your body that's experiencing something, and then that's sort of like an animal and it's trained to do things. And then there's like your consciousness, your awareness. So those are two things that are at a battle with stress. And if we can learn how those two things operate, we can totally alleviate stress. Because when you're in that fight or flight mode, you're getting pumped with these hormones and chemicals like run, fight, or hide. So the problem is in current life, we're not running from a tiger. We're stuck in the car with our kids, or we're like in a meeting, or we're on a phone call, and we want to run, fight, or hide. And we can't do any of those things. So it's like this cognitive dissonance. And that's what creates this like constant low grade anxiety and stress.
Yeah.
And you can't go anywhere. It's almost like you're stepping on the gas, right? So the adrenaline is like the gas, and you're also stepping on the brake at the same time.
And it's in neutral. I don't even know what's happening.
So now you know exactly what's happening when you're stressed. And in your brain, there's all these like things firing off like little lightning bolts. It looks like a storm going off in your brain. And the two halves of your brain are like firing at different times, and they're not synced up. So that sends messages to your body then to freak the fuck out. And it just keeps going. It's a fucking loop, y'all. Mm-hmm. Stress is a dysfunctional loop. That's all it is. So if we can figure out how to get that back into coherence, like we are actually good. But you do have to like remove, we're about to get into it. So yeah, hormones pumping through. Joe Dispenza says that most of us spend 70% of our time in that state.
70%.
That's not sustainable. That's not appropriate.
No. Not appropriate.
Right? So like obviously the first thing you can do is just become aware of it. Like fuck, I've been a victim of stress. This is something that I've accepted for myself, and I've chosen to ignore it. And now there's like a little bit of a baby journey that we have to take to get out.
Yeah.
That's what he says. Because you're constantly trying to control or predict an outcome. That's what you do, because it's a lightning storm going on in your brain.
Yeah.
What it feels like to you as a person is like you're moving from one thing to another, like really fast. Do you ever notice that? And you're like talking to this person, then you go, oh, you got to text it. Hold on. I do this all the time. I did this like yesterday.
Oh yeah. No, dude, phones. We should probably do a whole
phones
thing
make it
about
worse
phones
too.
Well, it's like too good.
First of all, turn off your push notifications like as soon as possible.
Except for the fucking Queen Herby's song drops. You know what I mean? Keep that shit on.
No
Everybody
other
else.
artist will ever tell you to turn off your push notifications.
Yeah. No, but it spazzes you out.
It does.
It spazzes you out. For us, like sometimes when we get going, it's like it feels like a car that's on like a loose gravel road that's got the fucking accelerator on the pedal to the metal.
There's bullet holes in the sides.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like the tires, everything's like fucking churning so hard, and there's fucking dirt flying everywhere, but the car is staying in the same place.
Insane.
You know what I mean? It hasn't caught yet.
It's like Groundhog's Day for me. Like, it's like I'm thinking something and I'm feeling something, and then the feeling causes me to think something, and then I feel something, and then I think something.
Yeah.
It's like this never-ending loop. And what happens is your body, remember our body is like separate in this example? Your body gets trained by these fucking chemicals that your crazy lightning storm brain
starts craving it.
You become addicted to stress.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And then it becomes a fucking physical, literally chemical thing you got to fucking deal with then. No, it's crazy.
So now it's like not only is it a mini journey to get you out of this cycle, but you're going to have withdrawal symptoms. If you can,
that was the biggest thing for me that I noticed, especially when you were, because I feel like now your stress level is shit. What, like fucking 80% of what it used to be?
I would say. And I'm always
less,
trying to improve it because why not?
Well, hopefully.
You can experience so many more magical moments, and we're about to get into the solution, but it is like pulling yourself out of the past. I know you have a lot to say about this.
Yeah.
Pulling yourself out of the past, because that's the training that you trained yourself to believe things, to the present moment, right?
Yeah.
You can't even experience anything good without being in the present moment.
No, well, it's the only thing that's happening.
It's the only thing that's real.
It's the only thing that's real.
So your poor body is like a junkie for like fake shit, fake news from like the past.
So the ego is only concerned with survival.
Yeah.
So it becomes addicted to it as a result. And then you now have to try to find a way to detach yourself from the overthinking and the fucking doom spirals to then become present. And whenever you are, when I was still doing all these letting go things and all the fucking, and look, guys, I'm not all the way there yet.
None of us are masters at this shit yet.
But it was such a incredible. It becomes so fucking obvious when you do it for a little while and you start to see it. Because when I would force myself to meditate or slow down or have to do these things where I would observe my thoughts, have to sit with it. It was like the ego would fight back.
Yeah.
To try to be relevant again and to try to get things familiar.
Yes.
Even if it was fucked up. It would prefer to be familiar than the unknown. And you have to retrain your mind to try to be comfortable in the unknown.
Yes.
And to be present.
Yes.
Because then in the present, there are no problems.
Correct. So your body is trained, unfortunately, and we're going to figure out how to do the rehab. He tried to make me go to rehab. As soon as you start doing these things, right, like becoming aware of it and starting to do meditation, you your brain starts sending you these messages like, I can't do this. I'm too, my mother-in-law won't let me. I have too many responsibilities.
This is boring. This is stupid.
Yeah, that's your ego telling you.
You got a tiny dick.
Yeah, you tiny dick.
You can't meditate.
Yeah. So we're just preparing you for the tiny miniature war that you're going to be at to try to alleviate stress.
Totally normal.
But we got this. Together, we could do this.
Again, like all these other fucking thoughts, just observe them.
Just because you have a thought doesn't mean that it's true. That's kind of a breakthrough. It's kind of hard to understand if you haven't got to that point in your journey. But once you realize like, oh, wow, I really just thought right now that like, I was going to get hit by a car or something. Like, that's not fucking true. Like your anxiety and your stress starts to speak to you through the ego.
Yeah.
So if you can start questioning your thoughts too, it becomes a little more fun, siphoning them off and being like, oh, that's like not realistic at all.
Yeah.
Can I say something off of what you were saying?
Please.
So I think too, a lot of it can be, at least for me, or in a lot of people's case, it's a defensive mechanism. It's a self-preservation response. You're playing out scenarios in your head that could happen for something that hasn't happened yet. And therefore you're triggering all of these stress hormones for something that isn't even happening or probably won't happen because you are trying to protect yourself from getting hurt.
Yeah.
You're trying to control the situation based on only your experiences from the past,
right?
Which are no longer in the now.
Right.
Right.
So is that technically anxiety?
I think
Well, stress, anxiety,
is huge.
they're the
Right.
besties.
Yeah, they are.
I
But
remember
it's
we had a
just-
health teacher at Berkeley that was like, don't say stress because it actually creates a stress response in the body.
Jesus.
He was like, say anxiety. He was like making fun of it.
Yeah.
But they're
Because
besties.
anxiety is worrying about something that's going to happen, right? And stress
you
is more
think.
like a response to a situation happening right now.
Yeah.
So through my therapy, I have learned that, and I'm sure this is true for a lot of people, that my anxiety about future things, I react to as stress.
Oh,
as though it's already happening.
Oh, yes. So the body doesn't know the
Correct.
difference.
My body is responding as though this is happening.
Yes, exactly. The body doesn't know the difference. Now, we can flip this to be really valuable because when we get to the solution here, which is like meditation and visualizing great things happening, we can literally train ourselves and our bodies to believe that we're a millionaire,
Right.
that everything's going our way, that we have the house on the lake, that we can literally emotionally train our body to believe that it's now just by imagination and visualizing. And you have to do repetition. You have to do it often, but you can train your body emotionally and it literally changes your experience. Like I think that's what J-Lo was saying, right? We're going to bring it back
sure.
to her.
Coming back to J-Lo.
Because her affirmations were beautiful. She's like, I am youthful. She rattled off her affirmations on this interview, and I was like, damn, this is everything that we see her as. She became what she thought on a regular basis. So if you don't grab the your human body, which is an animal, by the bullhorns, and you don't say, no, we're going to think these thoughts, you're going to end up thinking what society wants you to think and what the past wants you to think.
Yeah. To me, it's all surrender. So you can fight those feelings as much as you want. That's not going, like you're saying, say like, don't think about purple elephants. You know what I mean? You're going to think about purple elephants.
Don't think about the car wreck.
The only way through is to surrender to it and allow it. And then all of a sudden you realize you survived your thoughts. And it is an empowering thing. And you become, it's just this fascinating, they're all overlapping things of the same concepts. And
sure.
it's really fucking fascinating to me because everybody has a little bit of a different angle on it. But it's like you just become, if you are present and you're actually aware of everything that's going on, then there are no problems here right now. All the problems either are in the future or your brain is attached to what they were in the past. But neither one of those are affecting you right now.
Right
now you're here, right? You know, this is the only thing that you have. And so that's it's just it takes a long time to really, and I'm still, like I'm saying, I'm not all the way there yet, but it takes years to be able to understand these concepts of like really fundamentally. You know what I mean?
And even just introducing yourself to these concepts with this episode, for example, just getting, even if you get one nugget of goodness out of this, like that's progress.
Just literally any little you have, like start observing yourself having stress.
Yes.
And you notice it. Even if you still have stress, you just observe the stress is intense progress.
It is.
Because that's all you really got to do. The more you do that, eventually you will see the stress as being just something that you're experiencing.
Yeah.
And not who you are or, you know, your entire point of existence.
Right.
It's very difficult, but it's the first thing you got to do. Just chip away.
Yeah. Yeah. So Joe Dispenza is like saying we have to be greater than our bodies, which are like these little addicts to stress, right? We have to be greater than societal norms, which are like saying, go, go, go. Well, you know, it's not, and coffee addiction, like all this stuff contributes to the heightened stress hormones. And we have to be greater than our circumstances. So I do want to mention, like, you know, it is a thing. It's a thing of privilege to even be able to sit here and listen to a podcast on a device. Mm-hmm. It's a thing of privilege to even have shelter and food and be able to consider our awareness and our consciousness. Like, that's fucking lit. And not everybody has that. So if you are, obviously, depending on your circumstances, this is going to be harder for some.
Yeah.
You know? It's just good to know that. So if you do have the privilege of
But it
learning
also-
this, an even bigger motivator to fucking learn it.
Yeah, but it also doesn't mean it has anything to do with happiness, joy, or peace, or love, or any of the highest vibrations. They have nothing to do with anything material.
Correct.
So some of the happiest, enlightened people on the planet right now we'll never know about. They could be in some small town somewhere without fucking anything.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
That's how it works.
They say that in the reincarnation books, like a lot of the highest vibrational people are just like living on the street.
Yep.
Yep. And they're just,
Or just
I've
like
seen
living
it.
very, very like meek lives, or very,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Fame has it is meaningless to them,
correct.
you know?
Yeah, this podcast is for creatives, and obviously even having the privilege and the freedom to create, it's like kind of mind blowing.
And that's so okay. Can we talk about for like creative for a second?
Yeah.
Because like for us, for our experience, stress, and I think a lot of people feel this way. And I know all of the people that we've written with, and all the people who we know in like in music or whatever. Usually we all operate from stress, right?
Yes.
It's how it could, because it's an adrenaline shot. It's a fight or flight, like you're saying, like it gets the body ready to attack something or to
run
perform
or
at
hide.
peak. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, run from a bear. So it is become, and what you do if you're trying to operate at a really high level, I noticed like you keep drawing from that well. And then eventually, the well starts running a little dry, and you got to keep dipping down. This is where all these fucking addiction problems come from, because people start doing whatever they need to do to
Just
get
do a
back
little
up
coke.
again. Yeah,
Just do a
cocaine.
little-
God, they were interviewing with Steven Tyler, and he's like, I don't think you guys understand. Without cocaine, we would have never made it through the 80s.
Oh, God.
We would have never made it through touring.
Yes.
Yo, for anybody who doesn't
we
know,
have some good stories.
touring is so crazy.
It's
I know
crazy.
it feels like it's just glitz and glamour.
I'm just going to
and
go to
like,
my favorite artist show.
Yeah, totally. Well, and that's hopefully the experience that you have, right? That's the point of it.
Yes.
But what from the other side of it, it's intense and it's fucking brutal, and a lot of substance abuse things come from it.
Oh, yeah. We've seen it happen.
Yeah, we've seen it happen. But this just so being able to, and it's counterintuitive to feel like you have to get into this stressful space to be able to create your best shit.
Your best life, or to get to the point
write the best
where you
song.
want to get to in your career.
So,
like
yeah,
more
get the
social
best
media
scene.
posts and get more
Yeah,
attention and
I'm gonna
go
get more likes.
Yeah, and try to run up to so and so at the award show and try to get their phone number. Like, damn, bro, it's stressful.
Yeah.
It's stressful.
Because I think you associate like grinding and hustling with high stress.
Yes.
Boom.
Yeah.
And that's why.
Yeah. And we're about to get into the brainwaves, which is really the science of this shit. And really what you can, maybe a good visual for you as you're observing your stress response and like understanding how your body works. Again, our recommendations always the Wim Hof breathing exercise shit. Mm-hmm. It teaches your fucking brain how to feel your heart. It creates that coherence.
It makes you be present.
It does.
This is the Eckhart thing.
And
with
you
breathing.
literally you have to sit there and not breathe for like a whole minute or 2 minutes, and you feel your heart beat, and you have to slow it down. Like you have to learn this shit. And that, to me, that was like kind of a big opening.
Yeah.
That's why it has like 30 million views.
It's got like 70, I think.
That's why it has 70 million views. Okay, so really what happens is if we can effectively relax from stress, if we can pull back, siphon it off, put space around it. We have all these tools now, all these phrases that were like different ways of saying the same fucking thing. Yeah. If we can actually effectively get back into homeostasis, is that right? The right word?
Sure.
That sounds really fancy. We can, from that point, start to see the world completely differently. So what I thought was fascinating too is when you're under stress, everything looks bad.
Yeah.
And when you get to this, what we're going to do is we're going to actually just pull the vibrations down in our brain and our heart, and we're going to just, we're going to sit. This is why, if you're on the Patreon and you get my extended aura cleanses, that's what they're made to do. It's literally made to send you caring energy, love and care vibrations through the phone. For the extended cleanses are like 5 or 6 minutes. So patreon.com/House of Herby. But it really like helps people sleep, they say, because as you move into sleep, your brain waves go from one state to a lower state. And that's what allows your body to fucking restore itself at night. Like all your shit gets fixed. I have zits that go away overnight sometimes. Your body works really hard, and those different brain waves allow that healing to happen. Right. So that's another reason, like if you have been living in a stressful state for a long time, learning how to pull that back down is going to actually heal your fucking body.
Yeah.
It becomes a miracle.
Your body can't heal under stress.
It can't.
Nope.
Just like it can't
it's
create.
Still trying to, just like can't create, it's still trying to defend itself.
And we need you
or
in your
activate.
power. We need you in your creative power. We need you in your health. We need you all these things from you.
We need your
art.
Oh.
We need it.
Okay, so this was a thing that kind of was fucking crazy. I think her name is McGonigal, Kelly McGonigal. The TED Talk that I was watching because I rewatched it because I was like, oh shit, this is So, okay, people died from stress when they believed that stress would kill them. Okay? No. This is how fucking deep this shit gets.
It's not going to kill you.
When
Listen
they were
to
like,
me.
well, no, but listen, when they were like, when stress, because everybody knows stress is bad. So when they were experiencing stress, they're like, this is bad for me.
Oh.
This is hurting me. And it did. Now, they did the same thing with people who they had them think of stress as not bad, and they actually would like it changed their entire it changed their entire bodily approach to it.
Love that.
Because usually when you're experiencing stress, right, your blood vessels will, at least she was saying how like the blood vessels contract.
Yes.
Okay, so they get tighter, which has all the problems for blood flow, heart disease, heart attack, all these wonderful things. But when they were told that the stress would not do that, to just observe the stress and to make it, what if stress was a good thing?
Yeah, it's an indicator.
Then their blood vessels did not do that.
Interesting. So you're saying we can be stressed. We just can't be stressed.
She's saying, don't think of it as a bad thing.
Okay.
Don't think of stress as a negative thing. Because what happens is when you're stressed, and then you're saying, oh, I'm stressed. I know all of these billions of studies about stress and how fucked it is.
Right.
And that's what you experience. Instead, she was like, look at it as a reaction to my body. It's helping me rise to this challenge.
Yes.
Whatever is in front of me. So
Cute.
it's giving you this adrenaline or whatever this energy surge is.
To get you where you need to go.
To allow you to confront it.
Yeah.
But if you look at it as this is hurting, then it does. This is the power of the human mind.
More powerful than we can even really comprehend.
And we're talking about all this fucking pineal gland is able to access fucking interdimensional whatever the fuck when it comes to manifestation and shit. Aliens. I don't know. But it's stuff that we still don't really know. We're just now scratching the surface of. But like your thoughts are so important. And not to add like a lot of weight to them, because when you're having a lot of thoughts that you don't want to have, don't try to
assign meaning to them.
No, don't assign meaning to them.
So it's your soul. So behind your conscious you, there is your eternal you, apparently.
The self. Right.
There's the self, the soul. So that's who you're talking about. That's the one that you don't want to think stress is bad. Like your conscious mind could be like, oh, stress is bad. Let me not do this. Let me slow down. Because your soul is like, bitch, you're stronger than this. So you got this.
Yeah, it must be what it is, because that your id or not. Yeah, what is it? Yeah, your id, whatever your fucking
words are
yourself.
Words are really failing us.
Well, and it's also interesting too, because words have so much
weight and
magic to them, so much vibrational things to them that can alter things.
Like if you say bookshelf to one person, they might be like, oh, bookshelf. But if like you've been under a bookshelf when it fell, you have a totally different.
That's stress.
Then you don't like, right.
I don't like bookshelves.
Right. So sorry if the words are, hopefully you're getting something from this, right? Hopefully you're listening to this and you're just new perspectives on.
Well, all of it really comes down to, all of it comes down to you're gonna be all right.
You're gonna be.
We're gonna be fine.
Gonna be all right. God damn. So how do we change, right? So once we realize that we're experiencing stress and we're not really stressed about the stress, but we're like aware and we're like, listen, bitch, your life could be better than this. You don't have to feel these things. You could heal your body overnight if you just jump into the vibration that you deserve to be at.
Yeah, but again, if you don't, like that's okay too. Don't try to have these expectations.
There's no
of
rush
like,
because also the body is very resilient.
Super resilient.
right? Like I've been through so much in my life and I've had a few very strange disorders and diseases and I was able to figure it out.
Yeah.
And you're right. It led me to not do those behaviors anymore. It changed who I, it changed me.
Shingles.
I gave myself shingles.
Stress. Yeah. Right.
And the doctor was like, "Oh, yo, you usually don't get shingles unless you're like 80
yeah.
in like a nursing home."
And you were like 25.
Yeah. I think it's happening more and more to young people because it's stress related. Yeah. But it taught me, like at that point I was fully unaware and it got me a little closer to where I am today.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, let's get ready to be uncomfortable moving into the unknown. That's like the first thing. Whereas this is going to be uncomfortable because we talked about that mini journey that I don't want to make it a big deal. It's a little baby journey that you have to take to get out of stress and into a place of like coherence. Okay. Joe Dispenza also said something really interesting about DNA, which I thought was kind of cute. So some people are like, I took DNA test and I'm that bitch. No, I took a DNA test and I found out that I have a hereditary likelihood of getting X, disorder. And they actually found out that folks that were able to learn these coping mechanisms for stress were able to change the expression of their DNA. So the DNA actually chose to act differently in people that were like, no, thank you. This is my life.
Crazy.
Isn't that cute?
Yeah.
So there is finally science showing that, like Jedi was saying, you can literally, like the way you feel about stress, like you have all the power within yourself for this, to fix this. Okay. So this is the way that you can alleviate stress. Are you ready for this? Meditation. Boo. Nobody wants to hear this shit. Nobody wants to hear it. But meditation is literally the most powerful tool that we know about that is proven to have an effect on everybody all the time. Like different percentages, it's like you have to allow it to take over you. But meditation is the answer because when you close your eyes and you play out a scene in your mind that's like super positive, your body doesn't know the difference. You literally like create your future by observing yourself right now and creating these emotional moments, like retraining your whole body. It changes it, like your body doesn't know the difference. So you're installing new software is what it is.
Yeah.
You're changing the hardware. Your physical body has to get a software upgrade. And that's really what it feels like. That's what my song Farewell is about. You literally say goodbye to your old self. And you're like, oh, she's going to experience some withdrawal symptoms, but that's not who I am anymore. And you start to know, like when your computer is fucking up and you're like, we need to upgrade. We need to like update this shit. That's what this is. That's all it is. And you start valuing yourself more and more too. So you're like, well, I don't deserve to feel like this. I want to feel like that.
Yeah.
So you have to take it upon yourself. No one can get inside of your head and do this for you. That's like the hardest part that I realized.
That is the hardest part.
I would pay all the money out of my wallet for somebody to come and just like teach me how to do this, but you have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
So it helps for me. It helped to read a bunch of different references, a bunch of different books, and just find what resonates for you at your level that you're at right now.
Yeah.
Because your life is going to improve immensely if you just do this.
Yeah.
So how do you meditate?
At this point, so it's been like a whole process for me. In the beginning, I would do one of the guided ones on YouTube. Just like a little 5-10 minute
guided meditation's great starting point.
Tons of them out there, yeah, because they'll talk you through it, so you don't have to do any of the work. And like they say, if you have your thoughts will drift, and if they start going to something else or whatever, then just slowly bring them back, and you just focus on the breathing. And a really good way to stay present and to make your thoughts to just not really have any thoughts is it just think about your breathing. And it's a very, tied in, tied out kind of very slow, calm activity.
Are there thoughts like buzzing by in your brain while you're watching your breath and you're like, this is stupid, this is dumb?
Sure, sometimes. Yeah, sometimes. In the beginning when I first started it, because like when COVID first hit, I was like, all right, we got to do something. I always knew at some point in my life I was going to be doing this shit for a while, but it looks like that's going to be now, even though I didn't want to. So yeah, I couldn't even sit still for 10 minutes, let alone not have thoughts.
So it's a progression. So this is again to everybody who's rolling their eyes about meditation, because I know so many people that just won't fucking do it.
Yeah.
I didn't do it until like 2 years ago. So I can't even come on this podcast right now and tell you to meditate. Like it sucks. It sucks ass.
In the beginning. And then something is going to happen. Some like little fucking switch is going to happen where you start to crave it. You kind of start to need the time with yourself.
Yes.
Because of the insanity of the outside unconscious world becomes so obvious. That's what it is. And so then you start to need the time with yourself to get back to
coherence.
Balance. Yeah, get back to coherence.
I think what's happening is like the science we're saying is like the brain and the heart are getting in sync again. So it's not that rapid fire lightning storm in the brain.
Yeah.
It's literally self-care 101 is meditation. So if you can't do it, if you're like, fuck this, queen, I don't know how to do this, 5-minute guided meditations on YouTube. Just Google that shit. Try to stick with it for like a week.
Yep.
Reward yourself when you do it. There's
Go
apps.
get super stressed afterwards.
Yeah. There's apps for this now. Like I think the Calm app, like there's things where they if you're one of those progress people where you like to tick off boxes, like I did this today, or like you use your phone heavily, there's apps for it. You could even be a robot about it. Just do it. Just try it.
Yeah.
It's super, super important because in meditation, all we're trying to do is teach the body emotionally what that new you feels like, that new life, before it's here physically, before we see evidence of it. So he says, you can't wait for your dream job to be fulfilled. You need to feel fulfilled now. That's the hack. You can't wait for that new relationship to feel loved. You have to feel loved now. You can't wait for your healing to feel gratitude and awe at your body's miraculousness. You have to literally meditate on it now and feel it now to train the body to magnetize that shit to you.
Yeah.
That's it. So now the stress podcast has turned into a meditation podcast, which turned into a manifestation podcast.
Okay, so one thing that happens to us all the time is we'll find ways to turn good things into stress.
So even after you have successfully meditated for 7 whole days and you start imagining and retraining your body, you have the withdrawals and you're like, my ego's yelling at me, queen. And you see good things start to happen. Oh my God, I just got a promotion. Like, what's happening?
And then all of a sudden, you turn those good things into stress. It's incredible.
She comes back through the back door.
She
this bitch
finds a goddamn fucking way.
She comes through the window and she's like, "You're gonna fail, bitch."
Okay, so I just finished reading one of these fucking Eckhart books, and he was saying something exactly that Hawkins was saying. It was like the enthusiasm. Okay, so like you have so much enthusiasm. When enthusiasm, there's a fine line between enthusiasm and stress. And sometimes even people on the outside will look at enthusiasm as stress.
Or excitement.
Because it's
like when I get excited, my blood starts pumping to my hands.
Totally. You get really, it feels wonderful to get excited, right? Very, very fine line between turning that into stress. And what happens is, he was explaining it as like, it's the switch between having the goal, seeing it as the goal only, rather than being present with the feeling and the excitement and the joy of what you're doing. So let's say you're writing a song and you immediately are like become worried about, oh, but what if I don't get the right promotion for it and it doesn't go, whatever. You immediately somehow turn into stress. All of us do it. I do it. I've noticed myself do it constantly.
Yeah.
And you're taking the joy and the enthusiasm from doing something that you love doing that might be your purpose or whatever, and you're not present with it anymore. You're now thinking about some future end goal with it, and that will always turn it into stress.
Trying to control it.
Isn't that fucked?
Trying to control it. You're not allowing the universe to co-create it with you. Like what we mean when we say that is like, you have to leave some space for God, goddess, source, energy, whoever the fuck you call it. You need to leave some space for that entity to bless you. You don't have it. You can't be like, yeah, and it's going to go exactly this way. Bitch, you are not going to have any fun with that.
The only thing I know for sure is that when you're like, yeah, and then this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen. No, for sure, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
For sure, no.
Something
for sure, no.
You
might
don't
still
expect.
Yeah, it's going to happen exactly the way you don't see coming.
It's like knowing what you're going to get for your birthday before, and then like wrapping the present. That's stupid.
Yeah, you're like, oh my God, it's a puppy. Who wrapped this?
It's going to be something else. Not a puppy.
Not a puppy?
Okay? It's going to be something better.
I want a puppy.
It's going to be a giraffe.
Oh my God.
Okay, so waiting for something outside of us The gag is we're waiting for something outside of us to change when it's really us driving the ship.
Yeah.
We have this, I think I was raised anyway, to believe that like
Or,
something
you know what?
outside is going to happen and you're going to be redeemed. It's like, no, bitch, you are in charge.
And well, you're in charge of observing the miraculousness of the present moment.
Yes. Everything's already been created. The pressure's off. You get to sit back and enjoy your experience and share it with us.
And if shit sucks, if you need to change something or not do something anymore, if you can't accept where you are, because acceptance is such a huge thing with this too. If you can't accept it, then change it or don't do it.
So I think we hit the brainwaves because this is where a lot of these ideas come into.
Hit my brainwaves, dog.
The brainwaves really bring all of this full circle because I didn't understand this, but your brain is, remember the lightning storm that's happening on both sides? And you know you have like a creative side and a logical side.
I have a lightning storm in my brain?
You do. Your neurons are having fucking parties up there.
Should I call somebody?
This is why people are like, do mushrooms. It just rewires the stimulations.
Oh my God, let's get Paul Stamets on this.
Yes, at some point. So brainwaves is crazy. Most of the time we're in what's called beta. Now beta is like it has the most things. It's high and mid and low beta and alpha. Those are the two. Beta, alpha, but beta has like a lot more going on. Beta is actually dangerous when we're in high beta is when we're in the fight or flight. That's when you're in stress. So you don't want to be in high beta. Mid beta is where you're learning shit. So you need to be a little bit on your tits for mid beta because you're like active in your brain. You're pulling in new information. Low beta is where we generally want to be at. And alpha is even better because that's when you start to be able to influence the subconscious a little bit. So alpha is your super relaxed state. So it's really just beta alpha. That's where we're mostly operating. Theta is almost asleep. This is like almost asleep. This is where you want to be when you're getting hypnotized and they're trying to reprogram you, like to stop smoking or lose weight or something like this, or go into a past life. Hell yeah. Because delta is the bottom and you're asleep. You have literally no conscious activity in your brain at all. It's just your body restoring itself. And it knows how to do that shit without your fucking help. Mm-hmm. So we're out delta, we're waking up, we're in theta. This is when you're like, oh, I just fell off of a cliff in my dream and I realize I'm in my room. Alpha is you're super relaxed watching Netflix at night or something. Low and mid beta are like, am I learning stuff and I'm chilling. And then high beta is your stress. Above high beta is gamma, which is some miraculous brain frequency that's so fast you can only access it. It like your brain like jumps there from theta or something. It like only access it when you're in a super relaxed state and is super creative. So
that's the creative one.
My
right?
interpretation was gamma is like when you're connected to source and you're creating.
Fucking plugged right in.
You are in flow state.
Yeah. You got the ether cable.
So I think
in.
gamma is flow state, which is an episode that we did on this podcast.
Yeah.
Gamma is, which was interesting to me because to get to gamma, if you do ride the ladder up, you're going through the high stress state, but you're not supposed to do that.
And maybe that's the enthusiasm. Like it may even appear like it's stress, but it's not,
Yeah.
to the person receiving it. Yeah, that is interesting.
So I was like, that's really helpful. So when you are practicing meditation, I roll, but you're doing it. You're doing your 5-minute guided meditation to start, and we're learning how to do this. Eventually you do progress into like 10-minute meditation music where you do just sit quiet.
Yeah.
I love having music on because it's like a timer and it gives a vibe a little bit.
Yeah, I still like music.
I don't want to feel like totally alone. Eventually, I haven't got here yet, but you're just sitting in silence.
Yeah.
Props to you. But that's the vibe is that you might be in like a high stress, high beta state. And in meditation, the goal is to bring you back down to like low beta alpha. Right? We're not trying to get you to theta. Like that's dope. If you can get there and like start reprogramming stay conscious without falling asleep. It's hard.
Yeah.
But even if we can get you to that alpha state, which is where we're supposed to be when we're just normal, relaxing people, that's what meditation is supposed to help with.
Nice. I get that.
Yeah. So that's helped me to understand the science of stress because I was like, well, why is it so difficult to break these cycles? I said 10 years ago I was going to stop being stressed and I'm still experiencing it.
Yeah.
So it's just
because you don't trust it. You don't trust being able to get shit done not stressed, right?
Right.
Is that
because
what it is?
Historically, like I've had success being a stressed person.
Totally. So you know that if you can go back to that at least it'll get it done or get done at a certain kind of quality or something.
Right, but having headaches and aches and pains
you're
is
just-
maybe part of aging as well. But
Totally.
naturally,
It
like
beats the shit out of you.
I
No,
work
stress-
out, I stretch. Like we should be able to age gracefully.
I stretch, so I shouldn't be stressed.
You're a stretcher.
That should be a t-shirt. Stretched, not stressed.
There's probably they do recommend yoga. Look, we didn't even get into the self-care shit. I mean,
Yeah.
there's long lists. You can Google it. You don't need us for that. But
I was always I'm a mover.
Yeah.
You know, a mover and a shaker.
physical activity.
I had to do physical activity.
Yeah.
My whole life I have to. Dude, you know, like if I don't run or go to the gym or do something every couple of days, like it's such a physical
Not everybody's like that, darling.
not everybody's like that, but for me it's such a it cleans the slate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a reprogramming of like it clears out my my microwaves. You know what I'm saying?
Cleans your microwave?
It cleans,
I love that for you.
it cleans my microwaves.
No, I totally get it because you force me to go to the gym and I always feel better mostly.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel worse, but I think that's just my body like trying to understand and eventually it recovers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like everything else, you know?
When you believe it's good for you, it is.
Dude, that's what was so crazy about this shit because I remember like hearing about that, and that's the basic through line through all of this and how powerful your fucking thoughts can be.
Yeah.
But she was like, no, when they did the same study with all of these people and told them like, don't think the stress is bad. Think of it as like,
I love that.
It's helping you.
That's actually the hack of this whole episode.
Then it did.
Yeah.
Then it physiologically actually didn't cause the same stress alarm in their body.
Yeah.
And it didn't dilate their blood vessels, like all kinds of wild shit.
I could elaborate on that further and say, if you feel stress, it's because you care.
Oh yeah.
And that's really dope.
Yeah.
It's
That's
because
never bad.
you're trying to get the most out of this life and this experience, and you're probably trying to help others. Like there's probably a croissant layers of a bunch of shit going on. But
Totally.
the truth is, if you're stressed, you're trying. And we love that for you because
Yeah.
we need your art. We need your art. So we're just trying to become aware of these things together.
And for creatives, man, I just know how intense the stress can feel sometimes.
Yes.
And it feels like you were saying when you are in one of these stress states, like you can't see the other side.
You can't.
You can't get out of it.
Your
Or
entire
it feels like you can't.
Yeah. You see the world differently. You see
Yes.
like bad things instead of good things. And that sucks.
It does suck.
Now, you could hammer out some creativity and maybe squeeze some art out of that, but it's only going to last so long before you experience some pain, discomfort, disease, whatever. So we're just looking out. We're just your besties over here.
Hey, and know that either way, if all this shit still does happen, like it's still fine, man. It's still fine. It's still part of the learning experience, and it's you're gonna be all right.
And it's never too late either. If you experience a lot of stress and you are experiencing some kind of a disorder in your body, like this is your opportunity. And you're going to feel so grateful for the miracle of your body and your brain and all this magic that's happening. You are magical. And you get to now experience that and having that big swing from like being unwell to being well because you chose it is that's like kind of it.
Yeah.
There's nothing better, in my opinion. Thank you for listening to this wild and crazy episode about stress. We hope
Shit
that
was
you got
fucking
some
crazy.
new angles to look, like new lenses, new lighting, new angles to look at this shit because we need your art. And frankly, I've had so much experience with stress at this point. I'm sure you have too. It's just nice to keep learning other ways that we can alleviate it and work with our own self to get to that point where we are free to create. It's inevitable. You're going to experience stress. We're in an environment, in a world where it's like inevitable.
Yeah. No, don't try to not ever experience stress. You're gonna, but now you'll know like it's not the end of the world.
Now you have an excuse to take an extra bubble bath and spend some time alone and say no if you need to say no, and like all these great tools that we have in our kit. I'm Queen Herby. This is Jedi Nick, and we will be back next week with another great topic on House of Herby.
Bye.
Love y'all.
Da 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 da.